That would be me, and welcome back to the final hour of the show for the week. Yes, and we have a great hour in store for you. Of course, if you're an Olympic hockey fan, you may know by now that the United States lost in its quest to advance to the gold medal game against Sweden. They lost to Canada by a score of 1-0. This comes on the heels of the women losing to Canada yesterday in a heartbreaker. 3-2 in overtime. That was the gold medal game. So the women win the silver. The men will play Finland for the bronze, I guess, on Saturday or on Sunday. Also, a treaty of sorts, an agreement reached and signed in Ukraine. We'll talk about that more with Richard Pearl and later on in the hour. And you heard in the last hour, we told you that the FCC has modified its planned invasion of newsrooms all over the country, saying they will not be asking editorial questions of news editors or writers or news gatherers. But they're not squelching the plan. The plan is not dead. So they're still going to pursue this, saying they have a legal obligation to pursue this in a scaled down way. So that's going to be very interesting. And I don't trust them, so we'll talk about that more as well. But first, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to something from MSNBC. And this is African-American host Craig Melvin speaking to Anton Gunn, a former Obama official, about Tim Scott, Republican, African-American senator from South Carolina. Listen to this, cut 14.
Senator Tim Scott, as you know, running to remain in the Senate after being appointed back in 2012 when Jim DeMint stepped down to run Heritage. South Carolina House Minority Leader Todd Rutherford says, quote, the color of his skin, he's talking about Tim Scott here, the color of his skin certainly is not representative of the way that he votes on the policies that he seems to side with. Senator Scott's take on this, quote, his response, the theory that there is some monolithic group of thinkers called the black community is just not consistent with reality. Would Senator Scott's election, would it come with an asterisk like Rutherford suggesting or seem to be suggesting here? So,
would it come with an asterisk? This is the most virulent strain of racism. I mean, you're quoting, first of all, a Democrat from the Senate, Rutherford, who I don't know if he's black or white. I would guess he's black to say something like that because that's become chic and acceptable, that form of racism, black-on-black racism, a liberal on conservative racism or gender bias or Hispanic, attacking Hispanics over their political beliefs because it's not what you believe it should be. So the host actually asks this former Obama administration official, a black host, after quoting a Democratic congressman as saying that, basically saying the way I translate it, this Tim Scott guy who's running for re-election for the Senate seat he was appointed to, he's black, but he's not really black because he doesn't vote like a black man should. And then the host here, Craig Melvin, actually says, if Tim Scott wins, should there be an asterisk next to his name? Where would you put that asterisk next to his name, Mr. Melvin? Where would that go exactly? On the official, I don't know, crawl or when you lower third when you ID somebody? Is that where it belongs? Is that where it should go? Tim Scott, RSC, asterisk, meaning he doesn't vote like a black man should? I mean, what are we listening to here? It's so sad. It's so sad that anybody could talk about anybody as if they're a member of a race. The color of their skin should dictate how they think. And if they don't, then there should be an asterisk next to it, like there's something wrong. There's something special about this person, abnormal about this person. Like you would put next to Barry Bonds for cheating, an asterisk next to him in the record books. It's racism, plain and simple racism. And it's par for the course on MSNBC, and it's par for the course when it comes to liberals. Clarence Thomas said recently he was treated worse by northern liberal elites than he ever was in the South by any white people. I mean, look how he was given a high-tech lynching by the likes of Joe Biden and Ted Kennedy and other northeastern liberal elites, whites. And it's not Clarence Thomas, Condoleezza Rice. I mean, do I need to go down the list? And now here's Tim Scott, the only African-American Republican in the Senate. And what do they say? Well, maybe he should have an asterisk next to his name because he doesn't really vote or think like a black man should. Just saying that is racist. As if there's a monolithic viewpoint among blacks or among Hispanics. Because we know, and it was Harry Reid who said something to the effect, others have said worse, but Harry Reid even, I bring him up because he's the majority leader of the U.S. Senate. He took Marco Rubio, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to task for not really being a true Hispanic. I'm paraphrasing. And why? Because he doesn't vote like a true Hispanic should vote. What does that mean? Am I Jewish? I'm in the minority. I'm a conservative Jew. I don't mean conservative from a religious point of view, Orthodox conservative. I'm talking about a politically conservative Jew. So I guess I'm not a real Jew. Where does it end? Well, I'll tell you who's a real Texan, by golly, and a real Republican, our friend Congressman Louie Gohmert from the great state of Texas. Hello, Congressman.
Hello. And as far as what I am, I asked my late mother once growing up, said, Mom, do you know what we are on your side of the family? And she said, well, son, we're what you would call a Duke's mixture. And I said, well, that sounds pretty cool. What does that mean? She said, that means if we were in the dog world, you'd be called a mutt.
No, I'm talking about this. I know you joined at the end. I was talking about MSNBC, a black host named Craig Melvin, talking to a former Obama official. Should there be an asterisk next to Tim Scott if he wins the election? Because then they quoted who is the minority leader of the House? It's Rutherford. I think it's an African American. Is it Rutherford? Anyway, they're quoting him saying basically in code that he's not a real black because he's a conservative. So this host actually asked, should there be an asterisk next to Tim Scott's name if he wins the Senate? I mean, it's insane. It's racist.
Well, you know what? I really look so forward to the day when the people on the left who are so racist will be able to look at people and judge them by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin.
And that would make Martin Luther King very happy looking from where he is.
The dream.
Yeah.
And yet so many on the left just can't get past it. Because if you're a certain color, that means you have to, absolutely have to.
Certain ethnicity and Hispanic, it is outrageous. You're right. It's nothing but racist. I mean, look what they did to Condi Rice, to starting with Clarence Thomas and Colin Powell, even before he kind of flipped, and everyone else in between. It's just disgusting. But
but they haven't stopped. I mean, Clarence Thomas has come back. They weren't satisfied that they tried every way they could to assassinate this good man's character. I mean, this is not somebody that went to a private school in Hawaii. He was living off poke salad and things that they could pick wild or catching crabs when he was growing up. I mean, this is a kid that grew up and he didn't find out till college his parents together only made about $8,000 a year. But he knew about being poor, and yet because of a guy at Yale Law School who asked him why he would be more supportive for even one more federal law like forcing people to wear a helmet if you're on a motorcycle, when he as a black had been so oppressed, that got him to thinking, wait a minute, it is government that oppresses and takes away freedom. That ended up turning him toward thinking opposite of leftists to wanting more freedom. Of course, that guy's name was John Bolton that was in Yale Law School that asked him that question that started him thinking. And another thing he said, too, and we see this, the leftists talk about, oh, they're holier than thou, but as he points out, he noticed that the liberals only wanted to talk to him as a black man about sports or the oppression of the black people, whereas he noticed the few conservatives like John Bolton we're curious about what do you think about this? What do you? And then they really respected him and wanted to know his opinion on things, not just about sports or oppression of black people. And that made him start noticing this discrimination that is really soft. And of course, his grandfather told him it's kind of like a snake. You don't have to worry about a rattlesnake. You know what they are, and they make noise. You know exactly who they are.
Right.
It's the silent ones that will sneak up, and you don't think they're a threat, and all of a sudden they bite you. And that's what he says is the soft discrimination that's such a threat to African Americans.
Absolutely. We're talking to Congressman Louie Gohmert here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Before we get to your brand new PAC, which I want to talk about, let me ask you about the controversy. Today, Ted Nugent apologized, although some in the media have already said it's not good enough because he said, I'm not really apologizing to the president. I'm apologizing for saying it. You know, he made the mongrel remark about the president. And I did a whole thing before pointing out that one of the leaders in going after guilt by association, Greg Abbott, a fine man, a fine attorney general who will make a fine governor of Texas, is Erin Burnett. And Erin Burnett in 2007, I just played the soundbite, when she was with CNBC, she called, they were showing a video of three leaders, Merkel, the president of France, and Bush, and she called Bush, she called him a monkey. And she's leading the charge here. Of course, we have Michelle Obama, who brought a rapper named Common to the White House, and he in his rap songs threatened to burn George W. Bush, and has threatened cops with gun violence in his songs. The list goes on and on and on. We have
they were perfectly okay with a movie that would show George Bush being assassinated.
Right.
They didn't think there was anything wrong with that.
And Bill Maher, who used the C word to when he talks about Republican women. And none of that is. And then these same networks hug Bill Maher when he comes on. But Greg Abbott is somehow responsible for what Ted Nugent, a crazy, and I say this affectionately, crazy rock and roll guy, said on his own. And it just reeks of a double standard.
It does. And, of course, you know, Ted has been really rocked by the overzealousness of the government. Poor guy's just trying to live on his ranch, and he's taken in, species endangered. Like one became extinct in Libya, and he called me when he was rightfully upset and was telling me, gee, there was a species going extinct. He and lots of numerous other landowners in America got them. They bred them, they developed them, they spread them around until there were about 22,000 of them in America. And then this administration's goons come out and say, gee, you've got these endangered species, so your land is habitat under federal control. I mean, he has seen the zealousness of this administration trying to take over private property when actually Ted and some of the others sent pairs of these over, and they were male and female. They couldn't send two males or two females. They had to send a male and a female over to Libya in pairs, male and female, to help them procreate and reproduce the species that had gone extinct. And if not for landowners who were really trying to help with species like Ted, they wouldn't even exist anymore.
Well, of course, the left would have liked him better if they sent two males or two females and some artificial insemination material, I'm sure.
So.
All right, Congressman, so you started a PAC to help Tea Party candidates. Tell us all about it.
Well, yeah, and some in the establishment of the Republican Party are saying, gee, this is wrong, but this is not declaring a war against Republican candidates. In fact, it is defensive because we've seen what happens. There are people, including our speaker, who want to declare war on Tea Parties, where these are conservatives who simply want elected officials to do what they promised when they got elected. And so you notice as you're in Congress, gee, if you don't go along with what the leadership says, they're going to see that you don't get any financial help. They're not going to help you raise money. And so this was a page from Jim DeMint's book when he was in the Senate, started the Senate Conservative Fund, so that conservatives would know, even if you are crazy enough to stand up and keep your promises that you ran on to get elected, you will be able to help to raise money. There'll be people like me that will help you, and that will not only help you raise money, but we will help give you money from a PAC. And I know some people are critical of PACs and say, they're just people sucking out huge salaries and getting rich off them, and there are PACs where that's the case. But in mine, nobody gets a salary. Whatever we're able to raise, it goes to help conservatives. That's the whole
that's
point.
great. How could people to find out more about it or contribute?
They can go and read at our website. It's goconservative.com. Go is spelled G-O-H, conservative.com.
For Gohmert, I get it.
Yeah,
Very good.
Well, they expose people off and they think it's not pronounced go, but it is gohconservative.com.
Okay, great.
So goconservative.com.
All right, sounds good. All right, Congressman, stay where you are because I'm going to a break, but I'm going to pick up the phone in the other room in a second, so stay where you are. Congressman Louie Gohmert, ladies and gentlemen, always great to talk to him. We're coming back, and former Congressman Pete Hoekstra will join us right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax Television.